So today we have a very, very interesting film that Curtis brought to my attention, a film that's been making a film festival run for a couple years and actually just made its theatrical release, a movie that's called Late Night with the Devil.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason we bring this up, because it's been kind of controversial. There's been a lot of debate on a couple of things regarding this film. Now, I didn't watch it. Obviously, we can talk about what the premise is and what you think, but we'll get to the very meaty part of this discussion, which is essentially the use of AI images.
Yeah,
right?
AI art images in the film, which they are just a couple images throughout the film, but it's been enough to bring a lot of discussion and debate in the film community. People are going as far as boycotting this movie because they just don't like the use of AI art in films in general that they're going to pay to see in theaters.
That's right.
I think is the main discussion to me, but we'll get into that a little later.
We'll get into that. So I didn't watch the film, but I did look into what the issues are. So this movie, Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dastmalchian, right? Give us a little rundown. What's this movie about?
So this movie's kind of crazy. It looked pretty fun when I saw the trailer. Me and Mackenzie saw the trailer. We're like, this looks pretty freaky. It looked like just a good concept in general. It's basically a talk show that goes awry because there's a bunch of haunted stuff, a lot of paranormal stuff that just happens on this Halloween special of this late night show. It's definitely got layers to it. There's different storylines that tie in. All the characters honestly are they're pretty fun characters. Like, they're very charismatic characters. They're very defined characters. You can, you kind of get to know these characters pretty well throughout. Yeah. And it's a good premise. I mean, it's a fun premise, a late night show that just kind of, gets super haunted. It's super creepy and, it's fun. It kind of had a very, Twilight Zone kind of feel to it, very much so.
So it's very creepy, very weird.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe that the main actor, right, David, gives me, because I just recently watched Prisoners back in 2013, Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, and he was in that movie, and he gave me a weird presence. Yeah. But I really liked it. So after seeing this, I'm gonna actually have to watch this. But yeah, I like him as an actor.
He was in Dark Knight. You remember him being in that? He's had just a lot of he's very recognizable. So it's kind of cool to see him have a lead role in something, and he kills it, bro. He does do a good job. Okay. He plays a late night host called Jack Delroy, and the whole premise is kind of their TV ratings are kind of plummeting. They're kind of trying to save their show. So this show for him is really the one that's supposed to get his ratings through the roof and save the whole program kind of thing. Right. He might have made a deal with someone behind the scenes. Who knows? But it's a fun movie. It really is a fun movie. So I really wanted to talk about it after I saw it, but once I saw this controversy come up, I kind of felt like this was the more important thing to talk about.
Okay, good. So let's get into what the controversy is. So obviously there's been issues with AI, and that's in any sector, in any business, but most specifically in the film industry. Obviously we saw the strikes going on, right? And it concluded with a lot of agreements reached in terms of using AI, whether it was a discussion that, studios and writers had to have, et cetera. So it's been an ongoing topic, AI. So now the big issue here, the big controversy and debate is that this movie used 3 AI images, right?
Yep. 3, they're just little insert cards between when the live show is happening, and then so during the movie there's a live show happens, and then they'll cut to commercial, and during the commercial breaks you'll see the behind the scenes of what's going on during the show. So there are these little insert cards that are basically the show is called Night Owls. So it's a little picture, you'll see it here. Yeah, it's a little picture of some skeletons dancing around, was very Halloween themed. It says Night Owls. It does kind of give off AI, feel a little bit just from what we've seen from AI so far. I didn't think about it while I was watching the movie, but seeing it now, you can definitely kind of see some AI sprinkled in there for sure. Just with some things are off. For sure.
So I'm looking at it right now. So let's describe it. Obviously, we're gonna have it pulled up, but so it's the skeleton here. Hands reached out, some pumpkins with the skeleton kind of look to them. It does look a little generated, right? And I've seen some crazy generated pictures that look almost perfect, like if they were actually taken on, photography, whatever. But how long were these on screen?
Very short. They're just super small inserts just to kind of keep the flow of the film going. The thing is that people are saying they're boycotting it because of this, is that they just don't want to ever see any AI sprinkled in movies ever. Yeah. They feel that people should be paid for this kind of work. And it's
Absolutely.
which totally makes sense as far as like a production that people are going to pay to see. You don't want, I wouldn't want to go pay to see something that was AI generated.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's say no one knew about this being AI generated. Would this even be a thought in your head? You seen this little insert for a couple seconds, came up, whatever. You wouldn't have thought anything of it, right?
No. And when people were boycotting it, and I heard people were boycotting it because of this, I will say my initial reaction was like, I was kind of bummed because I was like, it was a good movie that I thought was fun, and it is getting praised. Like, it's got like a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes. People are liking it. Had a really good festival run. So, and I think it is kind of like a fun direction to go with horror, this movie. It's not as like scary in your face, but it is a fun movie. It kind of gave me like Ghostbusters vibes meets Twilight Zone. It was just a good time in the theater, you know? So I was bummed that people weren't going to see it because of these specifically because of the AI images in this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was kind of like on the side of people are kind of overreacting to this. But as I thought about it more, I was like, I wouldn't want to pay to go see something that was AI generated in theater. I would not want to do that. And us being in production like we are, we would want to, I mean, you know, short films that I guess my scare about this when I first read it too was I'm working on short films right now and I'm using AI to help me out with stuff. And I was thinking like, would people like not want to watch this film because I've used AI to help me with like some effects or stuff like that? You know, those were the kinds of thoughts that was going through my mind. Like after I saw this article, I kind of like, I was like, is this just like completely frowned upon to ever use AI in anything?
Yeah.
Unless it's like a conceptual thing to like just help you get your ideas along.
Yes, I'm glad you bring that up, okay? Because I have the slashfilm.com article pulled up and that we'll link below. Okay, so they asked the star, right, David, and he weighed in on this conversation, and I quote, he says, "The only thing that makes me sad is we had an awesome graphic design team working on this film." And he adds, but I get it, you know, AI art is something we've learned so much about in the last few years since we made this movie. So he points out that this movie was shot a few years ago, right? So the public has grown to learn more about AI, but it begs the question, you know, if, like you said, AI could be used as a conceptual thing, right, to get your ideas out. It begs the question, couldn't they have gone back and replaced these AI images with actual creative images made by people,
right,
you know, that they could have paid, right? So I'm glad you bring that up. That's something I wanted to ask.
Yeah, see, that's a discussion too that is interesting to me because so they do have a graphic design team, and I'm sure the graphic design team is the one that used AI to create these images, and that graphic design team is getting paid. But the fact that the graphic design team used AI, is that where, so, you know, there's different layers to it, but like, because there are people getting paid to make these AI images, but there's like this gray area of them using AI, you know? So it's like, it's a weird thing to me a little bit when you get to that kind of discussion, like how far can these graphic designers go with AI if they're getting paid to, you know, and if the filmmaker is okay with it. But
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's interesting because, so going back to this article, it's mentioning how there's a debate on Twitter and it's heated. You know, there's people on both sides giving their opinion, but a lot of frustration comes from like the fact that there would have been a lot of people who would be willing to, let's say, make art for this film, even if it's for a cheap cost. Like, hey, like I want to work on this. Let me, you know, make a graphic, and they can get paid, you know, little whatever, just as a thing. So, I mean, there is frustration saying like, you know, it's taking away ability from people to put their creative aspect into the films, right?
As an artist myself, like if they reached out to me and asked me to make some like, you know, just like cool graphics for like even like $100 or something.
Yeah, right.
Like just something. I see a missed opportunity there for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now here's my question, right? Obviously the AI imaging is very minimal in this movie, right? A couple title cards. So it begs the question, how much AI is acceptable in movie, right? Even if it is acceptable to begin with, because this isn't like they're using AI to create the script. They're using AI to create the sets. It's just a couple of images, but even the couple of images, it's like people are saying no AI ever.
Yeah.
Now, is that fair to say?
I think for movies that you pay to go see in a theater, I think it is fair. And that's what I thought people were kind of overreacting at first, but I see that point of it.
For sure.
I wouldn't want to pay to go see something that was AI generated. I think that stuff needs to live online, and it's great stuff. I mean, there's cool stuff that comes out of AI. I mean, there's like, I mean, I've seen some stuff. There's like these SpongeBob remixes of like songs that are hilarious, bro. And they're actually kind of fire, bro, honestly. So it's like, there's just like AI can be used for like, I feel like meme internet kind of stuff. But when it gets to like putting it out there for people to pay for, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a valid point. Going back to boycotting this specific film, I don't know, maybe it's just my opinion, but like, obviously I'm not going to agree saying like, no, the AI is fine, because if there's reasons to be upset about it, then there's reasons to be upset about it. But like to completely boycott and not fund this film, and then you have all these other amazing people who worked on it, scriptwriters, set designers, actors, directors, that just all these amazing people who did have a good chance in it. Why would it be fair to take away money from them? Yeah. That's kind of like the other side I'm seeing.
That is a good point. See, I do see that point, and I think this movie, I don't feel like it deserves to be boycotted because of this. I think it should be the movie that is like the example. Like, hey, don't do this in the future. It was a couple images. It was a mess up.
For sure.
Well, let's move on from it. I don't think people need to boycott this movie because of it, because I think it's a fun movie. I think people should see it. I think like it does take horror in a different direction, and it's just a good time. Like it, and people, like you said, other people put tons of time into making a good movie. Yeah. Like that's why I was bummed that people were boycotting it, because I don't want people boycotting a good movie. Like it's actually a good movie, you know what I mean? And there's storytelling, and you can tell people cared about it. And the AI thing, obviously, that was a mess up. Yeah, I agree with that. But I don't think you should boycott this one because of it. I think this is the example. And in the future, if people do this, then yes. But I think this one, they messed up. But it's super early in AI.
It is.
This is like a super early example. So the boycott thing, that's a little extreme to me. I get the discussion though, for sure, and I'm glad there is a discussion. There is a very good discussion. Now I saw this on X, formerly known as Twitter, right? And you're talking about it's super early on into AI. I saw people saying, what if it gets to a point where you start AIing straight up actors who are, let's say, passed away, like including people who've passed away and AIing them into a film as if they're still here. Imagine how crazy that would be. Well, did you see Cole Bennett's music video with Juice WRLD, where it was kind of recent, like in the last few months, but it was a music video with Cordae and Juice WRLD, and
he AI'd his expressions on Cordae. So he used Juice WRLD's expressions. I did see that. So that was creepy, dude.
Yeah, and it looked like Juice WRLD, and Cordae's mannerisms were kind of Juice WRLD-esque. So I mean, it kind of felt like they were bringing him back from the dead a little bit.
Yeah, bro, it was a little crazy.
And I did actually watch. There was an interview with Cole Bennett, like discussing their, just like the ethics behind that and stuff.
What'd he say?
They said that they had thought about that and it being perceived as that, but they said that their reason for being cool with releasing it is that his mom thought that Juice would just love having this out there. See. So they just thought it was a really cool thing that Juice would really want out there. Totally valid. But yeah, it brought up that kind of discussion of bringing people kind of back from the dead.
Yeah, imagine watching a whole movie, right, where Robin Williams is starring in it, and it's like completely brand new, never even thought of concepts while he was alive. Like, would you go watch that movie and like, let's say he's cracking jokes and stuff? Would that feel different, right?
It would. Oh yeah, it would. It would have to. And
that's what I'm saying.
I think people would be able to tell. Oh, I don't know. It is getting to kind of a scary point where like
the legitimacy, right?
Yeah. Especially with music that I'm seeing, where I'm like, oh my gosh, like that sounds just like that person, and it sounds like that was written for that person, like by that person. Like it's kind of it is getting a little crazy. So that's going to be future discussions for sure.
Yeah. So pretty much just to tie up this conversation, aside from like conceptualizing, right, within like the filmmaking process using AI, what else would be okay? Like what else in terms of using AI, in your opinion? What do you think?
I think conceptualizing is really the point where it should end, as far as like getting ideas, kind of trying to organize stuff. Maybe you need like a couple ideas for a line, or you need a couple ideas for a scene, or like, you know, something like, yeah, get the ball rolling for yourself, but don't use it to be your final product necessarily ever.
Yeah.
And pay the people that have been working their whole lives to, you know, be good at this stuff that AI is just doing in 2 seconds. Like, give them a chance to make it like, I mean, just, you can tell AI art right now, you can tell. So people are going to point this stuff out. Maybe eventually you won't be able to tell, but the good thing about this discussion right now is that we're trying to like nip it in the butt right now and trying to like stop it from continuing. So I don't know. It's kind of, I just don't know when you're going to be able to tell and not tell. That's the scary thing to me.
That is a good point. Imagine pre-production, you're using AI to like storyboard, right? And create like whatever mock-up shots of close-ups, wide shots. But imagine one of those like wide establishing shots end up in the movie. So it's just like the freaking AI, just the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. I don't know how I would feel about that necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. But it's interesting. It's interesting. Discussion to be had.
Good point.
Yeah.
So overall, would you recommend this movie?
I would recommend this movie. I want people to see it.
Yeah.
I don't think they should boycott it over these AI art images, but I do think people should take into consideration that they used them and that other movies shouldn't use it necessarily. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was a fun movie.
What would you rate it?
Dude, it was, I mean, I'll be honest, there was some cheesy moments in there, but it honestly wasn't for the scare factor of it. They like set up that it's kind of going to be cheesy pretty early in the movie. You kind of get that vibe pretty early. So you're like, okay, this is like, I'm along for the ride kind of thing. But, so I kind of like had that expectation set up early. And then from there, it's really just good, like banter with people. Like there's little storylines going on in the background. You're like, when is this going to come back up? When is this going to come back up? So yeah, it had me like interested the whole time. I was hooked for sure.
Okay,
for sure.
So what's the highlight of the movie? Just to end it there.
Jeez, let's see. I would say David.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Good performance.
He did a great job, and it's really cool to see him in a starring role.
Yeah.
I wanted to say too. Carter actually sent this to me that on Sunday of its opening weekend. Had 666,666 was the grossing amount.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
That's
me and Mackenzie, we went and saw it that same weekend on Saturday in Theater 13. So there was juju around this movie, bro.
Did you feel a weird presence watching this movie, or?
I did a little bit.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I think I did a little bit. Honestly, it was a different vibe, but yeah, it was good. I was glad I saw it for sure.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if you're okay with this slipping this one time, I guess go watch it, but keep in mind the discussion around it, I guess, and go look at it for yourself. I mean, the art you can tell like it is AI generated.
Yeah, for sure. But let us know what you guys think, like in the comments about this whole discussion too. Just like AI art being used in films and short films. I really want to know about short films too. Like if you guys think that's a cool thing to use, just for like, you know, indie filmmakers to use AI art. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let us know down below.